And I'm going to begin recording. Great. So it'll start recording from this point, which is fine. All right. But as the instructor, I have the, or the moderator, I have the ability to start the recording. All right. So let's go on to the next slide. Okay. So the agenda for today's session is I'll be looking at the very next slide, I guess. I'll be looking at the workshop objectives. I'll be defining the term multimedia. I'll try to give a big picture of how multimedia is used in education. And I'll discuss some pedagogical issues related to the use of multimedia. Refer to the listing of topics, multimedia topics or workshops that I offer, and then some question and answer time for individuals who might have something to ask. Okay, so let's, by the end of this workshop, you will be able to define what multimedia is. You'll be able to identify at least 5 multimedia tools to enhance instruction. And you'll be able to select at least one tool that you can use immediately to benefit your courses. Okay, so let's define multimedia. Multimedia combines 5 basic types of media in the learning environment. They include text, video, sound, graphics, and increasingly animation. And this is not my definition. This definition was retrieved from Bahaya Astana in July of 2010. Let's see. Okay. I also want to say that just because we have multimedia doesn't mean that it's effective, unless we have some indication from the literature that it has a positive impact. And in fact, 12 years ago, this is discussed in Educause, in the Educause review publication, in which they were referring to the increasing use of the online environment and multimedia technologies. And it said it resulted really in new approaches to designing and developing teaching and learning in higher education. Examples of that would be an increased flexibility and access to learning, resulting in new markets being reached, particularly the lifelong learner market, which is great because those are the individuals who may no longer be in an education, a formal education school environment, but which want to continue to extend the learning opportunities. Also, the enhancement through multimedia technologies of psychomotor and intellectual skills, including problem solving and decision making. And then finally, the ability through internet technologies to sharpen knowledge management and collaborative learning skills, and to design global and multimedia learning programs, or multicultural programs. So now we're going to go back to the use of that one icon that we use, that button. This is a response, and so I'd like you to respond to this. I'm going to clear first of all. And the question is, with the exception of text, have you ever incorporated a multimedia element into your face-to-face settings? Okay, so that's a real question. So if you want to answer, and I'm looking right now, we got 4 yeses, and Nicole and okay, Nicole says no. So this will be a first time for her, and Yan Chen is still kind of sort of working with the computer. Okay, great. Well, if you've done that in an online setting, can you tell me if you've done it in a face-to-face instruction, have you done it in an online setting? Okay. So far, nobody has had that opportunity, and in fact now, Isabel. And I know Isabel, and I know she has. In fact, she's done a marvelous job of including it. Thank you so much. Great. Okay. All right, so let's give a big picture of the use of multimedia. Okay. And I'll look at some pedagogical issues on why use multimedia. And I guess the first has to do with learning styles. And this is not to say that students learn specifically in just one style. Usually it's a combination. But students do prefer to take in information in different ways. Some predominantly by seeing, others by hearing, reflecting and acting, reasoning logically and intuitively, analyzing and visualizing, and sometimes either steadily or in fits and starts. It's not all at the same pace. The flip side of that is how we teach. And some instructors rely primarily on the modality of lecturing. Others demonstrate. or they lead the students to self-discovery. That's problem solving. Some focus on principles and others on applications, and some emphasize the use of memory while others focus primarily on understanding. So there's a plethora of different methodologies for teaching the various learning styles of the students. So what is it I will be offering? Let me just clear this. What is it I will be offering for this coming academic years for topics that you might be looking at to take? I offer workshops in video audio capture and editing, and of course I'll come back to it and I'll explain a little bit more about each one of these. An increasingly popular subject, and in fact sometimes I'll have to close enrollment because so many people want to take it, is the development of tutorials. We have here in faculty development a lab that's devoted entirely to multimedia, and we're having some interesting challenges. It's a kind of problem that I want to have where faculty who have taken workshops on development are signing up to reserve the lab to be able to record and their tutorials, and I'll explain what that looks like in just a few minutes. Podcasting. Okay, it's pretty common now to have a podcast and increasingly add podcast episodes. There are some issues though with podcasts in the latest version of Blackboard, and I'll go over some of those issues and a suggestion as to how to overcome them. The use of synchronous and asynchronous instructions or web conferencing tool when conferencing. And the tool that we're using is the tool for this particular workshop is Blackboard Collaborate. And I'll explain also what has changed in how we've done business with web conferencing before. Because we have a lab that is outfitted with Macs, we offer some Mac workshops. And I'll go through the listing of those workshops that we have for that. So let's begin with our video capture and video editing workshops. Of course, the traditional methodology for doing video capture is directly through the VCR or a DVD or some video source that actually has a video in one particular format that we want to take from that, which is most likely in an analog format, and bring into and digitize it so it becomes a digital format, and be able to not just to bring it in but also to manipulate it, to add things to it, to edit it in some way. Another way of bringing in content is the use of video cameras, and in the older days we would do that by having regular analog video cameras, and so we'd just be plugging them in. What I have right here is a picture of a digital camera that brings it in directly, so it doesn't have to go through some sort of change process or encoding process from analog to digital. This is sort of more direct. Okay. And this is one of the interfaces that we have used in the past. There are others that we use that in the workshop I will review what are some strategies for bringing in content from an external source to your computer. This is just another example. This is an older one though. I haven't used this particular one in a few years. They've been updated. Along with the, of course, correspondingly with the hardware used to bring in videos, there's also the use of software packages. And we use on the PC side or the Windows side, we use Pinnacle Studio. I think it has 14, but I think we have the latest version, Pinnacle Studio 15. It's a great way to not just bring in audio content, but actually to do something meaningful with it. Not just having raw video footage, but making it very polished. For those Mac users, we use iMovie, and if you have a Mac and you are familiar, know that you have iMovie on it. The workshop we have will get you up and running to be able to use that. It'll point you in the right direction, and you should be leaving here with some important skills. Of course, important skills are important or significant only if you continue to use them. And what will happen from time to time is somebody who's taken a workshop will come back and say, I forgot how to do such and such. And I'm always happy to work with faculty who are, maybe may have forgotten something with that. Let's see. Okay, let's see if I have any questions coming up here in the chat area. I don't want to miss that. All right. We also do a lot of audio capture, and I'll give examples of how we use audio capture. The program that we use, actually this is quite nice. It's very intuitive, it's easy to use, easy to learn and to use, and it has a number of useful features when doing audio editing. The best part is that this program, called Audacity, is free. It's a free download, there's just maybe one small challenge, but it's a very small challenge to be able to get that to work. Most people who come here to want to do audio capture use the Audacity. It is, as I mentioned, free. However, there are other software programs that people can use to do audio capture and audio editing as well. And we discussed some of those in some of my workshops as well. The use of video. Now, we brought in video. And how do we use it? Well, in the days when I had this particular workshop in a face-to-face environment, I actually would run the video. And examples of how I've used this, because I had, for a number of years, taught an Introduction to Public Health course. And that was a very large course. It was 120 to 150 students every semester. One of the ways in which I used videos was in my section on discussing the mode of disease transmission, whether it be direct or indirect. And I had a video clip that I took from the movie Outbreak with, I believe it was Dustin Hoffman, who played the role of a virologist, an epidemiologist. And in this particular segment, he's coming into the hospital ward where some patients have been infected with some sort of a virus or a pathogen, and he has to decide. And it's a very dramatic scene as he looks up because apparently the isolated ward wasn't isolated enough, and found out that the pathogen was airborne because it was going in through one of the vents. Another example of how I use video is in discussing unintentional injuries, which is what we used to say is accidents. We no longer say that because it implies it's unavoidable. And in my section on discussing unintentional injuries, it talks about a series of events that actually lead up to something that is to a great degree predictable. Okay, and in this particular case I think it was one of those terrible Fox shows on world's wildest police chases, and usually it ends up in some sort of a crash. And it's discussing the disbursement of energy and methodologies for protecting users, in this case right here, drivers. Okay, this usually gets quite a response from the students, because it's not simply just talking about it, but actually demonstrating what poor choices can result in. And this last one on social justice is a marvelous movie. Usually, there's usually some discussion amongst the people, especially with 150 people in one room at a time. But when I played this small video clip, it's maybe about one minute in duration on social justice, there isn't anyone saying anything at the end of it. It's very, very emotionally powerful, and I feel a very good use of existing content video to focus people's attentions on a specific topic. And in this case right here, I use it to galvanize the people, to focus them on my discussion of social justice, and usually it brings up some very important questions. I also offer an advanced video editing course, and it all depends on what you mean by advanced video editing. Certainly, if we're talking about professional level, this is on the lower end. But for a lot of faculty who want to add some polish to their videos that they've captured, the insertion of specific titles or the use of subtitles, and I always recommend that if you have a video that you include your I guess what you'd call closed captioning as a reflection of universal design, so that all people can benefit from the content, not just those who are hearing abled. Okay. I also apply in some cases music tracks, and hopefully they're all royalty free. I know that some folks might want to use existing audio that belongs to somebody else, but we talk about those free use applications as well. in the discussion of this. If you want to add a narration, have a voiceover over specific parts of your video, we can also do that too. It's always important to be able to add more control in the content that you produce. Typically, if we're going from one segment to another, and the segments actually might be either video, or they might actually include some photo stills that sort of demonstrate some concept. It can be somewhat abrupt to go from one segment to the other, so we talk about the insertion of transitions that make it more gradual and acceptable and quite a bit more polished. All right. Now I'm going to stop at this point, and I'm going to ask if anyone has any questions. So I'm looking for a little hand that pops up. I'm not seeing that. Okay. I don't see any hands. It looks like everyone is saying no. Okay. Great. All right, well, let's go on. I used to teach a video streaming workshop, and I can still offer it from time to time. And using that, I would be using a product by Real Producer. It used to be called Real Helix 9.0. I think they've advanced that, and they've gone back to using the term Real Producer. However, now with the advancement of software that allows you to encode video in a variety of software formats, specifically to not just for online distribution, but also specifically targeting perhaps maybe smart devices like an iPhone or maybe an iPad or some other device. It really is no longer as important to have a video streaming workshop, because the workshops that I have on video editing, video capture, just video capture, most of those software programs have a variety of different options for saving your content. So it no longer makes it necessary to have a specific real file, as they say from the Real Producer, or even having a media server that streams. So we at NIU have two media servers, and really facilitates the distribution of video. But that no longer is the case with the use of some of these other video formats. I now use Pinnacle Studio, and I probably should have also included, which I mentioned before, iMovie, which also allows you to save your video outcome, the thing that you produced, into a variety of different settings. It's very nice to be able to do that, because then you can share that with your students. They don't have to come into a library, for instance, and get one or two of the only copies of a particular video. It's nice. However, when we do offer the workshop, video streaming workshops, those who are here will be working with captured videos, and they'll be using Real Producers to encode the code. But now I will be including, of course, these other software programs. Participants will also be shown how to upload these files to the University's media server using an FTP program. As I say, it's no longer that necessary to do that. You can actually upload some of the video content to Blackboard, and since the university has now made Blackboard space quite a bit more available. Before there was a limitation of 500 megabytes. Now that limitation has been removed, and says substantially, so you can be putting lots and lots of video content. In this particular workshop, previous experience with capturing audio or video is not necessary. It's preferred, but it's not required for you. So you can come in with some video you'd like to work with, and we'll show you how to take that and encode it and make it available. I want to show the difference in what a video file size, the difference it makes when you have an uncompressed video. Usually in this format could be an AVI, which is uncompressed, and you take that and you compress that into something like a real media file or a MP4. The size difference is substantial. Here we have a video that we started that was 111 megabytes large. And after encoding, we've reduced that to 3.8 megabytes. That's a substantial reduction. Now, in the old days, when we used 56K modems, that was a real big issue. That was really, really big issue. And now that most of us have access to broadband, it's less of an issue, but still really, in terms of size, wasting size, because the quality really isn't that much affected. It still looks pretty good. I think it's better to reduce the unnecessary waste of space. Okay. How I've used video streaming, I'm not going to actually go here to this one. I'm just going to show you. A few years ago, faculty development was awarded a grant from the Office of Research Integrity, and we were tasked with the responsibility of creating a number of modules. In this case, right here, this first module, because we actually received funding for 3 consecutive years, and it was for the responsible conduct of research. And specifically, in this example right here, I have data management. And so one of the things we felt was necessary to have was to create a series of vignettes, video vignettes, where the problem was actually demonstrated. And the folks that we have, if you can see right here in this area, okay, these were actors from the Theater of Dance. Theater of Dance and Acting, I guess it's, and we had them perform these vignettes, very realistic. In fact, even though it's been a few years since we've actually produced these, and they were produced by the Division of Media Services, and also I think we had as a director the director of the Theater Arts Department. And it was so impressive. The quality was so impressive that this particular module was used as a benchmark for other individuals who were applying for grants that followed in the years to come. So we did a really nice job. Not to toot our own horn, but I guess I am. And in this case right here, we had a case study on, it was focused on data management, on data handling. And the question is, how would the principal investigator decide upon discarding the selected data? And it says this case involves a researcher who is assigned the task of discarding research data after the research has been completed. The researcher realizes that there could be some future benefits from not discarding the data, but the researcher has been assigned with the responsibility of discarding it. And so what does he do? What does she do? So I think that was an interesting use of video. And we had, I think, a total of 9 different video vignettes that we recorded. Uses of music, and of course this is uses of audio as well as video. This isn't my own, but a few years ago we had a professor who included rock music whenever she talked about she had a course on substance abuse, drug use, and every time she'd have a slide, it would have a song that was meaningful, that had a relationship to drug use. However, in retrospect, and listening to the music that she had selected, it was very date specific, and in fact, I think the music probably had more meaning for those individuals who are baby boomers. Perhaps not so much the Generation X students or later. And I'm not sure what she's no longer at this university, whether she's still using the same music or she's probably advanced that. Okay. Now, I used to offer this quite a bit, scanning to enhance presentations, and it really has become less important because people, they know how to scan. It's not as difficult, not as new a technology before. However, individuals do from time to time require the use of the scanners if they have content they want to bring in to reach visual learners primarily. It's an example of how I've used it. And when I used to teach the public health course and talk about unintentional injuries, I think it was one day I was preparing my lecture for the upcoming session on unintentional injuries, and I happened to be going through the obituary section of the Chicago Tribune, and I found that there were 2 people of note who had passed away from the same cause. One was Dr. Robert Atkins of Atkins Diet, and another one was Margaret Formby, and she was the impetus behind the creation of the National Cowgirl Hall of Fame. It's not something that I have a great deal of familiarity with, but I know to some segment of the population, very, very well known. And in both cases, they suffered death from complications of a severe head injury. And in this case, right, it happened to be on the same day. Okay. Growing up in Los Angeles, I was a big fan of the Los Angeles Lakers, go Lakers. And the longtime Laker broadcaster, Chick Hearn, who now look at this, right, he passed away, it's been 10 years, 12 years, something like that. He also died from injuries sustained from a fall in which he hit his head. Okay, so that was I guess an interesting use of imagery. This one right here is also taken from the Chicago Tribune, and you know it's quite a bit dated because the player that we see right here getting hit by a baseball is no longer with the Chicago Cubs. In fact, hasn't been with the Chicago Cubs for a few years. Sammy Sosa. And this picture was snapped a millisecond after the ball hit his helmet. You can see shards of his helmet breaking off. Okay, this is this one right here. Okay, and maybe a smaller piece up here. As an example of the use of technology to really disperse energy. In this case right here, the baseball hitting the helmet. Had he not had that helmet, he might have suffered severe, if not fatal, injuries. Now I realized after the fact that it might have been more instructive and have more of an impact if I had used a video, and maybe even a video that was done in slow motion to demonstrate that. But once again, the use of multimedia to assist in instruction. This right here, this use of clip art or photos. In this case right here, we're talking about organization, public health organizations. And I actually went out to take a picture of the local public health department, and it was I guess over a weekend in which we had a lot of snow. I had to park my car by the side of the road and trek in to get as close as I could to the health department to take this picture. In this case right here, where we're talking about a national level organization or the federal. This is the Centers for Disease Control. Now, I actually did my internship at the Centers for Disease Control in 1984. Didn't have a picture I took of that, but I did have a postcard. So I scanned the postcard to be able to use that. Of course, nowadays I would just go online and go to the site and maybe just take a photograph, or just take I guess a screen capture of a particular building at the Centers for Disease Control. All right, great. All right, now we're going to go into a slightly different area, and this is what I mentioned earlier. On that this is an increasingly popular workshop, and not just that, but increasingly popular follow-up to the workshop. People developing their own tutorials, and there are a number of different ways that people can do that. In this first example right here, I use the program Articulate Presenter, in which it takes a PowerPoint presentation and adds voice narration. Now you can do that, adding voice narration to PowerPoint. There's a methodology, and I can show people how to do that in the workshop, and I do show them how to do that. However, the size of the file is so inordinately large that it becomes unwieldy, and in a time when Blackboard resources were more limited and we could only have a maximum of 500 megabytes. This is very, very important consideration. However, now since that barrier has been somewhat addressed, even though we don't really have to worry about that a whole lot, there's still a lot of benefit that can be made with the use of Articulate. And if we look over here in this area, okay, on the left-hand side, this is it's essentially a table of contents. There's great benefit to be able to jump from the outline of the slide presentation to thumbnails, to specific notes that would be revealed. In fact, if you have a PowerPoint presentation that you're narrating and you're using notes, students can view those notes, which could be helpful for students who are maybe in which English is not their first language, as well as students who are hearing impaired. Other examples of tutorials that are related to the Articulate Presenter is Articulate Engage. And in this particular case, I'm using one of the interactions. I think there are up to 10 different interactions. This interaction is a timeline. And if we look right here along the bottom, let's see. We have period 1, 2, and 3, and I've clicked on one particular one in 1981. This specific tutorial I have right here is a timeline for abortion-related court decisions, and these are seminal Supreme Court-related decisions. So students can actually click on them and get information. Sometimes I choose to actually read, so I'm actually combining the audio of voice narration as well as the text. And there are many, I think there are 10 more, or 9 more interactions that people use for instruction. One new workshop that I offer, actually also working with the articulate presenter and articulate engage, is the use of engaging quizzes. And there are, I think, up to 10 different types of quizzes, including multiple choice, true, false, drag and drop, different methodologies for including. Now, I would include the questions in a PowerPoint presentations in which this is done primarily for self-assessment. So perhaps maybe I might have a PowerPoint presentation. It could be 40 slides long. But after 5 or 6 slides, I might ask a series of questions to really quiz the students on their whether they've learned something from the last few slides. And if they answer them all correctly, they can go to the next series of slides. If not, I have the option of either allowing them to go on or to send them back to the specific slide that had the information in which they may have missed a question on the quiz. So once again, I have more control. Students, of course, are free to do it as often as they want and as often as they need to. But it is an extra component added to the instruction materials, the use of these interactive quizzes. Now let's talk quickly about the use of screencasting, which is another way of developing online tutorials. The workshops that I have that do screencasting, and screencasting essentially is recording what goes on in the monitor, on the monitor of the computer. And so if I want to walk through the series of steps for students on how to do something, for instance, I've used a screencast to walk students through how to use the discussion board. Now, it may be obvious to me, it may be apparent. I could probably write down some instructions, but sometimes people actually need to be viewing something. And in fact, the result is a recording that is as if the students and I are sitting side by side and I walk them through it. It's live action. It's not just a screen capture of one slide or not. We use a variety of different methodologies for that, or software programs. Jane, which is a free downloadable software. The limit there is 5 minutes. Plus, you really can't do a lot of editing with that. It's just raw footage, raw video footage. Let's see, Camtasia Studio. This is a program that actually is not free. However, we have it in our department that allows individuals to come in and do a lot of post-production after they record, including zoom in, zoom out, panning, adding titles, adding transitions. A lot of the things that you would find in traditional video editing software programs, you have this also with Camtasia Studio. I use this not exclusively, but almost exclusively for creating my own online tutorials, and I use it in what they say I use it in a just-in-time learning environment. So if I have students who are having problems understanding how to use something, I will use Camtasia Studio to create a quick tutorial and send it out to the students. Camtasia Studio is also available for the Mac side, although we don't have a copy of the Mac side. However, what we do have on the Mac side is a, let's see, oh, that's all right, Judy, not a problem. What we do have on the Mac side is something called ScreenFlow. It's actually ScreenFlow 2.0. It is very sophisticated, like Camtasia Studio, and that's why we offer the workshop to get people up and running on how to use that. Question is right here. Marielle says, could we get a copy of Camtasia software and have installed on our own PCs? That is a question that your department will have to answer. It's not a free software program, but I found from my use of it, it's well worth it. If in fact you want to create tutorials for online distribution. Also, some departments have some limitations on what you can install, and so you have to talk to your system administrator on installing that. I know that in my old program, my old my old department, that was an issue, but it wasn't a major issue because usually that was understood. Besides, let's see, I think the network administrator was my neighbor across the street, so I was able to communicate. But well worth the use of a software program if in fact you have a use for it. Okay, this is an example. This is just a screen capture of how I use it. In this particular case right here, it says this tutorial walks through the steps of posting to the weekly discussion board assignment. And after posting this, after creating this tutorial, I did not have a student who asked me again how to do this. It was that clear. And I had everyone posting to the discussion boards. Once again, it was an example of just-in-time learning where people asked a question, they had a need, and I felt that if I just put it out there immediately and sent it out as an announcement at students and identified the location, students could go there, get the information, and then progress, which was sort of the focus. I want them to participate in the class, and so this is an example of how I've used it. I've used it many other ways as well. This is just one example. And this right here is what we do. We focus on providing people with the skills. We recently upgraded from Camtasia Studio 7 to Camtasia Studio 8. This month, I believe, toward the end of the month, I will be offering the workshop on Camtasia Studio, and we will be using 8, so that the training you get will be reflective of whatever program, the most current version that's available right now. Multimedia integration into Blackboard. Multimedia integration into Blackboard. In this particular case, we talk about, and this is just a small component, but it's a very important, valuable component, in which we show people how to use YouTube videos, which they can incorporate within their Blackboard course. Actually, it's part of the adding content to it. We demonstrate how to find certain video. We have search strategies that we discuss, and selection, and also how we can add our own instructions to the video. It's a great way of including new content. Of course, the content, you as the instructor are responsible for vetting that content for credibility, for accuracy, for reliability. But once you have it in, and I've used it for my own course, I teach a course on ethics for healthcare professionals. There is a plethora of available information that's quite credible on YouTube. In fact, every day in YouTube, on the YouTube site, there are more than 100 years of video added. So the issue really isn't in finding some content that's appropriate and accurate. Although, of course, it depends entirely on what you're searching for. But also trying to narrow down the choices, because you have many choices. And some searches that I've done on ethics in public health, in healthcare, the numbers of available videos are in the hundreds, if not more, in thousands. So this is a great way of utilizing existing resources. And what you're doing, you're not taking the video and putting that video on your site. What you're doing actually is using the embed code, and that it's kind of like smoke and mirrors. It looks like it's running from your site, but it's not. And of course, you would identify this as this information as belonging to somebody else. But the bottom line really is the use of valuable, important information that could be supplemental or central to your course, that add to and enhance the content. Okay. All right. So right now, at this point in our discussion of podcasting is a sensitive topic for me, because it's a technology that I use quite a bit in my workshop. I mean, in my online courses. However, we should say that with the upgrade to Blackboard last year, in May of last year, for whatever reason and however this happened, the Blackboard plugin or building block broke. And at this point, it still has not been repaired. It's very frustrating, because this is central to how I communicate with my online classes. However, in the workshop that I have now, I have a recommendation on how to get around it until they fix it. And I think it's probably slated to be fixed not not this semester, but perhaps next year, in the spring semester. But I do have a strategy for addressing that particular issue that I believe succeeds quite nicely. In addition to audio podcast, there's also video podcast, which is called vodcasting, and enhanced podcasting, which essentially is what we do with Articulate Presenter, where we're taking a PowerPoint presentation and making it available for online distribution for students. The benefit here is that it's a lot less expensive than the use of Articulate Presenter. I may have neglected to mention that it is somewhat expensive, which is why we make it available here in faculty development in both the main computer lab and the multimedia lab. In fact, I'm looking right now at the list of faculty who are coming in to record for Articulate or who have recorded using Articulate, and it's quite substantial. I think once people realize the usability of this software technology and they're teaching online, it becomes very, very attractive. So in the use of podcasting, what we're really focusing on, at least for the audio podcast section, is the power of the spoken word. It appeals to auditory and as well as visual learners. And it actually allows you to use this anytime, any place learning, what we call M-learning, which is mobile learning. Students can view it from their mobile devices. They don't have to be sitting in front of a specific computer that's plugged into the internet. It can allow you to capture you as the instructor, your enthusiasm. But the flip side of that, the double-edged sword, is of course if you're bored about your topic, that comes through as well. So it's something to be aware of. Students can listen to it many times, as many times as they need to listen to it. You as the instructor can bring in guest lectures. You can have debates. You can have virtual field trips. You can do so many things. Really, it's limited by your available time and your imagination. And in the podcast workshop, we talk about some applications as well. Promoting online collaboration with Blackboard Collaborate. In fact, what this workshop is right now is the actual application of the new software Blackboard Collaborate. I mentioned that we had been using Wimba for the past, I believe, 3 years. And in fact, I used it quite a bit. However, last year, Blackboard purchased not just Wimba, but another company called Illuminate, which was Wimba's chief competitor. And what they did was they combined what they say are the best features of both programs, and are calling their new product Blackboard Collaborate. I do have a few minor issues with their so-called best features of, but nevertheless, it's a great technology and allows you to do quite a bit more than Wimba alone allows you to do. And the workshops that we offer now on web conferencing are not with Wimba, but with Blackboard Collaborate. We did offer one in August, and we'll be offering another one in September. And usually I team teach this with my good colleague Jason Rohde. Here's an example of I neglected to mention for me, one of the best features, which is any session that you have with Wimba, and now of course with Blackboard Collaborate, can be recorded. It can be archived, and with the Blackboard Collaborate program that we're using now, we can save it in a variety of different formats, audio as well as different types of video formats, and you can make them available to your students. Students can download them and have them on their devices or their computers. It's very, very nice. In this particular case, I've combined audio with video. In fact, let me just for a moment here, let's see if I can do this. If I can set this up. Okay. Oh no! You know what? I just realized that this.
Dan, can you hear me? Because I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. When I clicked the video, I think it automatically took me off. Thank you so much, Donna, for identifying that.
It's nice to know it's working.
Thank you. All right. What I had been saying before is that I could use the if I had a webcam on this particular computer, I could use that to sort of broadcast my image as well as the content that I'm pushing out. All right. What I have right here in discussing the Blackboard Moderator interface is something that we didn't really show. I didn't really show before because it was the participant interface, and that you as the instructor have additional tools like the use of the whiteboard, so you can write on it. You can add, and I've just been using the pen or these little icons adding. You could also have a different icon. In fact, if I wanted to use a different icon, I could use this one, a little hand icon. And it really is just meant to add a little bit more interactivity to the content area. What I've just pointed out to was the application share. And so if there was something I wanted to show on my computer that I wanted to share with people who were on this session, I could do that by clicking on that. There's also a web tour, and so if I was to click on that, I could send everyone to a particular website and have them investigate that as well. What I know you didn't have in the participant interface is this load content, this one right here. And it allows you to put your content up. In fact, that's what I did right before the start of this presentation, loaded my content up in a very quick manner. I've got a lot of slides for this presentation, but it didn't take an excessive amount of time to be able to do that. Here's this recording session, and we are, of course, recording the session. And I can make that available as a link to you afterwards, after the session is done. Okay. And what you can't see off of my screen, but what you can see right here is activity. It actually tells you what's been going on in the room, who's joined the room, who's asked a question. What I also can't show you right now immediately is the listing of pages or of slides that I can view before I pull them out, so I can see in advance what I'm going to be pushing on, in case I don't remember what's the next slide. Okay. So a lot of other features right here where I can add a new page. I can delete a page if I don't want it to be included here. This right here is simply the buttons to advance, to go forward to the slide presentation, or to go back. And this particular area right here. Okay, let me just see. This particular area right here is a drop-down menu that actually will allow me to see all the slides that I mentioned before that you can't see right now, but if I was to click on that, I could drop down and add that there. Okay. This particular area right here, let's see. Yeah, I'm pointing to it, is the palette. Is the whiteboard palette, and it has a lot of things that you can do. You can add, as you see right here, I've drawn something on it. You can also put those little icons. There are a lot of different things. You can take a still photo of this particular image and then save it for future use. Okay. All right. Any questions about that? All right. I just want to make sure that everyone can hear. Donna, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I said I raised my hand.
Oh, okay.
Did I do that?
Yes, actually I see that. I'm sorry, I see that. Question.
Okay, now what was the question? Oh, okay.
Oh, no.
If I were to use Blackboard Collaborate as a way of doing office hours, this whiteboard section would just be plain, right? And that I could enter into it using the different features, like you have the
Yes.
pen and ink or whatever type of thing.
In fact,
is that correct?
Let me show you exactly. I just added a new page. That new page, blank page, doesn't mean that you can't add anything to it. You're absolutely right. By going to the load content, you could add some material on there. You also have the option of adding text. Here.
Oh, cool.
the text.
Okay, so I can just type it in.
You can just type it in right there on the move. You can add content, you can add images to this blank page, and then of course you can clear the page. Okay, it says, are you sure you want to clear the page? And I'm going to say yes.
Okay, so that helps a lot. I'm probably going to use it for a quiz review, because the last time I did this, I used the old chat that was in Blackboard, and so this will be the first time I'm going to try it this way.
Okay. Well, let me know if I can help. Okay. Great. Thank you, Donna. Anyone else have a question? I want to make sure that it says right here. Mary says that you lost the audio. I wondered if that was before that was pointed out to me by Donna. Okay, and I see right here Isabel is writing. It's okay now. You're back now. Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate the feedback. I had mentioned earlier on that we do offer Mac-based programs, and right now it's not a great listing. Of course, I mentioned ScreenFlow as one of the great screencasting software programs that is available on the Mac side. Okay, and I also mentioned that Camtasia is also available, although we don't have that particular program at this time. That's not to say that we couldn't get it. But some of the workshops that we offer include GarageBand. We have GarageBand 09. I know that we're going to be upgrading the OS operating system for Mac, and it may be that there's an upgrade to GarageBand. It could be 12. I'm not really sure. So whatever it is, we will be offering a workshop in that latest version, and the difference in interface between versions can be somewhat substantial, and so we want people to be comfortable with the latest version. If you have an older version, then of course we'll be able to work with you on that to make sure that you'll be able to use that. However, we like to say that recommend that people do work with current versions, because they do have additional features that make things more powerful and easier to use. iMovie is another one that is one that I've offered several times in the past. My concern about iMovie now, in fact, of the latest version of iLife, is that iDVD, which was a very important component from my perspective, is no longer included. Apple has unilaterally decided that the use of DVDs is no longer what's happening. It's no longer trending, and that their assumption is that video can be uploaded online, to be streamed, to be put into the cloud. I was a little concerned about that, because in fact just yesterday I had someone in the lab who wanted to use iMovie and to burn a DVD. And so in my discussions of iMovie, my workshops, I will be presenting that and discussing it, and having an alternative, perhaps maybe even the purchase of a third-party vendor that does as good a job, if not better, than iDVD did before. So that's not something that we're going to leave you hanging with. All right. So GarageBand, iMovie, and ScreenFlow so far, but that's bound to increase as not just with me, but my colleagues who also want to offer some workshops for the Mac users. Okay. I see that we've actually come to the conclusion of this workshop, and then of course, the reason for this workshop was just to sort of get a review of the types of workshops that are offered, that I offer, that are multimedia workshops. We are in fact increasing our collection of multimedia workshops, as well as other workshops. Every year we add a few more to that, and that really reflects the latest technology that we feel offers some definite advantages to the users, to faculty. I feel kind of privileged here, because I do teach at the College of Health and Human Sciences, and I'm able to test some of these technologies on real courses. It's not hypothetical, and I really feel that it offers me a distinct advantage, because I can talk to the faculty member as a fellow user of this technology in Blackboard, and give my own observations and feedback about the viability of the software, the new software programs, and the new workshops that are developed and offered. I mentioned if you would like to have heads up on what's being offered, just to go to our website and under Programs, under Faculty Development and Programs, we have the monthly I guess a schedule for what's being offered right here. If you look, what's at the very top, and it's just that I did a screen capture of this yesterday, is that today's presentation, which is online multimedia sampler. Tomorrow we have not a workshop on multimedia, but one on pedagogy, writing goals and objectives. There is a difference, and this is taught by my good friend and colleague Janet Geese. I absolutely agree with her on the difference in goals and objectives and how they've been sort of used for the used as the same, meaning the same thing, and they're definitely not the same thing. And she really goes over and describes how they're different, and really in a very meaningful way, meaningful to the instructor. Let's see, this Friday we have Blackboard 1. We have next Monday Blackboard Open Lab. We have the University Support Expo. And of course, this is just a screen capture of it. We have a lot more for the month of September. So every month it behoove you to look through that list and what's being offered. Yes, Donna, you have another question?
Yeah, I have a question that relates to Blackboard Collaborate and the video.
Mm-hmm.
As a participant, does a participant stream video to you or to everybody, or not at all?
Well, the participant streams video. You know, you're talking about the webcam.
Yeah, like right now, if I were to click on video, would you see me?
I would see you, and everybody in the room would see you.
Oh, okay. But, and meaning that all the participants would see.
All the participants.
So, like, if I do this, yes. Here I am.
I can see you, Donna.
You
Hi, Donna.
Okay. All right.
Correct. Right. Now, remember, Donna, to make sure that that talk button is
and
still
then,
engaged. Great. I see that.
I'm going to click it off now because it's ugly. And
no, it's not.
Okay. And so, but obviously you can only video stream. Obviously you can only video stream one at a time, correct?
Yes.
I mean,
we can have
5, like here there's 1, 2, 3, 4,
yes.
I don't know what, 6 people in the room. But if all of us clicked on video, what would happen?
Well, the same thing is that, you know, only one person can really talk at the same time, and it makes sense because when one person talks, it's a person talking. When 2 people talk at the same time, it becomes noise. It becomes difficult to sort out. And so I know that there are some like iChat and Skype now makes it available. You can actually see other people, multiple people, video images. I'm not so sure it's at the same time, but you can see the image of that particular user if they have an associated one. But no, it's in succession, and you as the instructor can establish the parameters of the video when you're creating the session, the Blackboard Collaborate session, by saying what's the maximum number of users you can have on that use talk, and I believe 6 is the most, and video I believe also 6 is the most. However, you know, if there are more than 6 people, you don't want everyone having their talk button on at the same time. Because then it sort of blocks the other people who are not talking. So after people talk, if they're no longer wanting to say anything else, then I invite them to click on the talk button again, so it frees up the list. Of course, for this workshop, since we don't have more than 6 people trying to get on, if all of us had microphones, all of us could be clicking on the talk at the same time, and then when we were ready to talk, we would just talk, and it would, I believe, it would block everybody else from talking so that we wouldn't have multiple people talking. One of the nice features about... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I understand then. Okay, thank you.
Great. One of the nice features about Blackboard Collaborate is it has noise cancellation, which in the past was a real big problem with folks who had a microphone that was a stand-up microphone instead of a headset microphone, because the sound from the speakers would go into the microphone when people would talk, and it would create this terrible feedback this looping thing where you'd have like an echoing effect. I believe the technology now has been upgraded so that it is like Skype, in which they have noise cancellation, which is a big benefit. Okay. So now let me see. I believe that's all the content that I wanted to share. Isabel, you had something a little while ago, a couple minutes ago, that said confusion. Are you confused about anything? I can see now that Isabel is putting something in the chat area. Okay. And it says, no, there was a response for having too many people talk. Oh, I see. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. All right, so any other questions regarding anything that was brought up in this session? Okay. Marielle says no. Let's see. Donna, nothing more from Donna. Okay. And Nicole. Okay. Oh, great. Oh, I look forward to seeing you in the workshops that we offer, Isabel. Let's see. Great. Okay. Well, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow this up. I'm going to send you the PowerPoint presentation as an attached file, and also I'm going to be sending you a link to do an evaluation. I'd really appreciate it if you could fill that out. We all benefit from seeing what needs to be improved or what's going well. All right, and I'll do that probably this afternoon. And if there's no more questions, then I want to thank you all for hanging on. This is we went over a little bit over an hour, although I know we're supposed to go until 1 o'clock. Great. Thank you so much, Isabel. Appreciate it, and thank you, Donna, Nicole, Melissa, Marielle, and Judy. Great. I look forward to seeing you in future workshops. If you have any questions regarding any of these workshops, or you have a question about Blackboard Collaborate, in fact, I have someone coming in today about Blackboard Collaborate to work with them, I'm happy to be able to work with you on that. And if that's all, I want to wish you all a pleasant afternoon. I'm still on here too, but in order for the recording to stop, and actually this might be instructive, everyone has to leave the session, and when that happens, the recording will be done. Okay, so if I can encourage you to go about your daily activities and have some nice lunch, thank you so much. Okay.